We are moving into week 10 of the NFL season. It is just blowing by. I mean, I can't believe we're already almost in the playoffs. There are a couple important games coming this week, and there are a couple things that Steve and I just wanted to talk about and bring to the attention of you, the listeners and the viewers. The first game I want to talk about is the Monday night game, Buffalo and Denver. And you might think to yourself, Cam, why is Buffalo and Denver an important game? And it's because Buffalo is in a very, 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 very delicate situation. Buffalo right now sits at 8th in the AFC, meaning if the playoffs started today, they would not make it. They have issues, okay? Like they have to dig deep and they have to be explosive and be this second. We talk about a second half team. Can the Bills be a second half of the season team? I'm here to die on the Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills mountain.
Okay.
There have been a lot of worse teams who are getting way less harsh criticism than Buffalo right now. And I just want to bring some context to the viewers. So we are entering week 10, okay? So we are a little bit past halfway through the season. Here's how Buffalo has finished in the Josh Allen era in the second half of the season. You ready, Steve? 26-10. Now, there is another team with another top 5 quarterback who is also an AFC contender who, despite their poor play to start the season, have been getting little to no criticism at all. Steve, can you guess who that AFC team is?
Kansas City Chiefs.
It is the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me tell you the disturbing similarities that the Chiefs and the Bills have had so far this season. So they both have a week 1 loss that should not have happened to Detroit and the Jets, respectively. They also both have a embarrassing loss where it's like that team lost to that team, the Chiefs lost to the Broncos, and the Bills lost to the Patriots. Both of these teams had a single-digit differential against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I am being told is a top 3 team in the league. And there is also a single-digit loss to a contender, potentially. Buffalo just lost to Cincinnati, and the Chiefs play the Eagles next Monday night. That could be a very telling game for both of those teams. So I'm just possibly putting that out there. So people want to say then, well, is it Josh Allen? Mr. Inconsistent, goes up and down. Let's talk about Josh Allen in the Jags game because the Jags defense is really good and the Jaguars are 7-2. So they're his crazy team right now. Josh Allen threw 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and had a rushing touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, who that game, Steve, remember that game where it was like 17-9 or something like that? Was that the final score? 17-9. 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. That's almost the same stats, except Josh Allen had a 4-point better passer rating. Then let's talk about the embarrassing loss because there should be no if you have a really bad loss to a really bad team, it's usually because the quarterback plays super poorly. Patrick Mahomes against the Broncos, 240 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, and a 59 passer rating. So Josh Allen must have played terribly also, right? 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, a 90 passer rating, and 1 rushing touchdown. And I get it. The Bills are 5-4. There's no excuses for their losses. But Steve, we've talked about a lot in the show about Nick Wright. And Nick Wright likes to always say that this is not the standings. These are not the power rankings.
Yeah, right.
And I think the Bills are being unfairly tied to their record when they have very similar outcomes. And they need to get it together. This is a very telling week. If they lose this week, everything I'm saying could crumble because then it's like, well, now what do you do? It's a whole different ballgame. I don't think that will happen. And I just think the Bills' narrative right now was pre-written before this even started.
Buffalo's offense is struggling right now because they're not doing what it was successful to them last year. Last year, they were top 10 in the NFL in pre-snap movement. This year, they're 23rd. But this year, they're second in plays, in yards per play when they use pre-snap movement. They're averaging 6.4 yards per play when they have pre-snap movement, but they're 23rd in frequency of pre-snap movement. So they're not using what works. Last year, they were top 10 in frequency of that used. So I think their offense is sputtering a little bit because I think they're not using the things that worked last year, and I don't know why. Maybe they haven't opened up the playbook. Like you said, they're kind of a second half team. So maybe there's a reason that they're not using all of the things that were successful last year. But to me, it's their defense that's struggling this year.
They just need to dig deep and rally, whether that be on offense or defense. Like, that's a Buffalo Bills thing. And there's been a lot of post-game interviews and videos from the locker room of players. Players know it. Josh Allen knows it. The line knows it. I haven't seen anything about what Sean McDermott has said, but I think Sean McDermott might be in trouble for a job here pretty soon. But when pretty much the entirety of the locker room, and especially the big name guys, are all agreeing and acknowledging that something needs to change and there needs to be a push, then it's kind of a big deal. You guys start 100%. Doing something. So yeah, the Bills need a big win here against Denver, and that shouldn't be a big game, but unfortunately for them, it is. Cleveland and Baltimore. This is a big game because the Ravens are a big deal. The Ravens are a super big deal right now. With a win against the Browns, they will be the standalone number 1 seed in the AFC at 8-2 because Kansas City has a bye. This is a statement game because, first of all, Cleveland is surprising some people. They're actually pretty much, I don't know if you remember, Steve, I said if Deshaun Watson can be a top, I have here, if they could have Deshaun Watson be top 12, then this Browns team should be okay. And that's kind of where they're at right now. And obviously for Lamar, it's going to be him versus their defense, which is important. And it's Lamar with having no meaningful playoff victories or any meaningful playoff moments. This, I think, is a game with the magnitude of what it represents with being the 1 seed against a good team and also against a divisional opponent. This is going to be as close to that was a Lamar, coming out here game that, until we get to the playoffs or until we get to another, a tiebreaker game or something where it has to do with seeding, this is going to be the closest thing we're going to get. And I just want to quickly say, among quarterbacks, with at least 6 starts this season, Lamar Jackson is number 1 in completion percentage and rushing yards per game. He is second in his interception percentage, and he is 4th in yards per game.
This is the number 1 and number 2 defenses in the NFL going against each other this week. You have the team that's leading the NFL in sacks per game in the Ravens. And then you have a team that is allowing the lowest points per game in 50 years or some crazy stat like that. I mean, these two teams are literally you know how when you talk about fighting, styles make fights, right? That's what this is. This is a high-powered offense with a high-powered defense against an extremely high-powered defense and a little bit of a sputtering offense. Deshaun Watson was hurt there for a little bit. He's coming back from injury, so I am going to make a prediction about this game. I don't think it's close. I think the Ravens blow the doors off of the Browns. I think this is the kind of game where it's 43-10. I just do not see the Browns having the kind of offensive capability to score enough against that Ravens defense. And I sure as hell see Lamar Jackson, who is having an MVP season, by the way.
Yeah.
I sure as hell see him coming out and having an MVP style game.
And like you said about the Ravens offense and defense is a top 5 in the league. They are, that's what I'm saying. They're second in yards allowed per game, and they're 6th in total yards per game. They are first. They're the number 1 rushing offense. They're number 1 in sacks, and they're 3rd in total yards allowed.
Oh, they took over the Dolphins for rushing.
Last I checked.
Oh, wow.
One more, probably the most important game we're going to talk about is the 49ers versus the Jags.
Yes.
And this is going to be must-see TV for all football fans for a multitude of reasons. It's most important for the quarterbacks, for Brock Purdy and Trevor Lawrence. Because even right now, even still as we sit here and talk, Brock Purdy, and even after this game, win or loss, Brock Purdy is probably going to be still looking at a benching decision from the coaches. And from the Jaguars side, with how good this 49ers defense is and how much criticism Trevor Lawrence has gotten, this is going to be also a statement game where it's like, okay, if you're going to prove yourself and say who you really are, it's going to be right here, right now against this really good contending team.
I think Brock Purdy is going to bounce back this game. He has had 3 bad games in a row. I need to see him come out and play the efficient style of offense and quarterback play that he was playing for the first part of this season. He is the reason that the Niners have been sputtering because they haven't been able to score. So to me, this is a huge game for the validation of both teams. I don't think the Jags are very good. I think they're going to settle into what we know they are, what they finished last season. Yes, they're 6-2. Congratulations. But the thing is they don't have these massively impressive wins on their resume. And I look for the Niners to beat the Jags in the right around the realm of like 25-14.
I hope Brock Purdy plays really well. I still believe in Brock Purdy. I don't know with the Jaguars defense if he's gonna pop off like you're saying you think he's gonna. I think it's gonna kind of be the flip side of that. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna play really bad against. I don't think Brock Purdy's gonna win the game for them. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna lose the game for the Jags.
I forgot to mention Chase Young, and you can mention now.
Because so this will be Chase Young's first game with the 49ers, and I truly believe in that defense. And like you said, I'm 100% on the same page as you. I'm not buying Trevor Lawrence. I'm not buying his performance this season. I think the wins that the Jags have are against not that great of teams, and when they do play better teams, they have a hard time putting up points. So I also agree that it's going to be a low scoring. I would be surprised if the Jags put up over 20 points against the Niners.
Shocked.
I would legitimately be shocked. I'm going to make a prediction. I think, what did you say your score was going to be?
25-17.
I like 17. I'm going to stick with 17. You know what? I'll go 28-17 just so we're not you know what? Nah. I think I'll say with 28. I don't want to go too much. I'll say 28. 28-17. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to lose. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have 2 interceptions and no touchdowns.
Oh, that's bold. Okay.
No touchdowns. I think they're going to have 2 interceptions, or he's going to have 2 interceptions. And
so
I think
we're basically saying that Travis Etienne is going to have 2 rushing touchdowns.
I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to look really bad and get exposed against the Niners because that's what's happened to Trevor Lawrence this season. I mean, I've also been told the Chiefs are possibly the best defense in the league, and they put up 9 points. When they play good defenses, they can't put up points. And the Niners might be the best defense, in my opinion. Like, they put against would you say the Texans are a pretty good team now? Would you also agree with that?
Yeah.
They put up less than 20 points. They just beat the Bills by 25-20. That's not super hot. Like, telling you. So we are pretty much on the same page. This is a big game for Trevor Lawrence. This is a big game for Brock Purdy. And this is a big game for, I think, the Jags. This is a bigger game for the Jags than the Niners, to me.
100%.
But we will see what happens.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.